What my mother said to me was, Denzel, you do a lot of good, but you must do good the right way. She said, and you know what I'm talking about. Can't buy your way in. Can't love your way in. You got to serve. You got to do good the right way.
Hi, supply chain practitioners. We have about a few hours before the elections, and I've had about 2 months to think about who I'm going to vote in. And believe me, I have four names of people I can confidently vote in. The rest, akita piki ponki. That is how I'm going to deal with the issues. I have to actually dismantle the camps, because we have Team JK, we have K3. Okay. I used to believe kulikuwa na independence. Those are the people that those are the first people I looked at. We have some of our peers and our elders. When you look at what they're talking about, apana. For example, what do I care about? Let me sit down. Year in, year out. Okay? We have universities and colleges, with supply chain and procurement graduates. They come out, they come to the job market, no opportunities. No opportunities. Let's, for a moment, because, with every model in economics, kukona vitu you can hold constant. Sindio? When you consider the macro environment, unaweza sema okay, by the generally kuko na shida ya employment. But then when you start using big words like advocate, go to these institutions, A, B, C, D, of which I am coming back to, that can actually absorb watu kadhaa. But then when you seem not to understand what people need, and in supply chain, we're always talking about being customer-centric. And you are actually standing, you're saying, I want to represent you, supply chain practitioners of Kenya, who are always victimized. Okay? But you seem not to understand that kuko na watu ambao are earning $1 million. Kuko na watu wa 800K, 200K, 40K, and zero. 4 years. Bado. Hey. It is very important to have mentors. And one of my mentors is the one who actually made me care about this KISM election. Because, I was asked, what is my position with regards to supply chain in Kenya? And I started talking. I talked. And then, with my mentors, they will always ask a rhetoric question, of which does not have a correct or wrong answer. So you will answer, and then another question. Answer, another question. So it reached a point I was like, hey, there is a web of issues when it comes to supply chain in Kenya. And when you look at the general election, there is a reason as to why Jakoya, got some traction. You actually have to give respect to Professor Jakoya, because this guy, he just stole the hearts of many youth. Alipenya.
There's nowhere to go until you surrender to where you're at. We're constantly trying to get over there. How can you get there when you haven't acknowledged where your feet are right here, right now in front of you?
Right now we have KISM. Okay? We have a home, KISM Towers. Yani, you can register online. We have a newsletter, mentorship programs. Like, we have come so far, but then kuko na watu ambao wanaongea like we are still in a jungle. For me, I'm like, first acknowledge that we have something that is working. Look at what do you have kwa mkono? What do you have? And then let us build, let us correct. Hata kuna kuanga na kitu inaitwa continuous improvement. Like, hatuwezi implement hiyo. Seriously. Someone asked me what's the difference between KISM and CIPS when it comes to CPD points. And I was like, with CIPS, it's not a must. It's not a must. You actually need it, so that you're aware of what is happening when it comes to supply chain. Number 2, when you need to level up. With KISM, you actually need these points so that you're able to renew your license. Without your license, then you understand uko kwa shida. So you can either pay or use the free avenue. Now, if you don't have resources, ndo unakuja free. So if you're a graduate not employed, then of course unakuja free. Sindio? Now, let's look at the calendar. Kama you're able to accumulate these points, let's say July, you actually renew it. Sindio? You get your points, you renew your license. Now, when you renew your license in July, ikifika dek, ndoyo, you need to start again. So you see, these are some of the issues people are actually talking about. Customer-centric. Now let's go to this big word that people have been throwing around. Advocate. Let's go back to 2020. And let me show you guys a paper that I actually wrote regarding the blood supply chain. The year is 2020. Okay? And I shared this article and people are like, are you actually assuming that people in Kenya are going to actually care about this? I was like, but we should be. But then when you look at people don't care about supply chain in Kenya, you start, we should be having conversations about this. And believe me, we have experts who can actually help the blood supply chain in Kenya. Lakini we are just forgotten. A forgotten lot. So when it comes to advocate, are we going to be advocating to who? To who exactly? So that what? You start asking yourself, how are we performing in our organizations? How are we performing? Because right now we should be able to say, hey, I have actually specialized in performance measurement, in process management, etc. Okay? I understand how my supply chain network is performing against my competitor. Okay? And this is my competitive edge. But how can we do that if we only believe kazi yetu ni kusource and to manage a tender? And then to be in these committees and to go for trainings? Because when people talk about the career paths they want to actually pursue, but one thing I'm going to do this year, I hope I'm going to, and for anyone who actually wants to get into a certain career path, I believe kukona mentors at KISM. Let's maximize on that opportunity. You understand? Because that, in a way, by I believe it will open doors. If you had a chance to read the CIPS salary guide, when it comes to things like advocating for supply chain, that was actually being done by the chief supply chain officers. Okay, those people who are earning $1 million in an organization. And you see, one thing that came out was that they actually have to show the value. You have to show the value. So in Kenya, when you think about KISM, my friend, we have to bring the value out. How can we bring the value out? If we are not even competing in terms of supply chains, we are still, cost-oriented. Cost-oriented. Twiga, let's talk about Twiga, because people like talking about Twiga. Twiga are coming up with a blockchain. Okay, 1 Acre Fund is another organization that is actually taking up supply chain practitioners. How are these people performing? Let's look at Diageo. I'm telling you, you have to start thinking out of the box when it comes to this is what supply chain people should be doing. No, si maneno ya tenders peke yake. It is a whole spectrum. And you can imagine procurement is a subset of supply chain. And procurement is not being appreciated. You know, and it's a subset of supply chain. So how are we going to sell supply chain? People will always think about tenders, okay? Tenders equals corruption, corruption equals procurement. Not finance. No. Procurement. Because you can imagine when COVID hit, and then people are talking about cold supply chain. Do you know right now, it's only in Strathmore penye kuko na watu ambao wanasomea health supply chain. Health supply chain. Let me show you, you know, when it comes to the Kenya Healthcare Federation. So when you go online and you actually Google this, you'll see the committee. You'll see the terms of reference. Now, Pachini, you know, when COVID hit, people started talking about, hey, we need these devices and commodities. Hey, we need to know how we are going to be immunizing and strengthening the supply chain networks, etc. But then, let's look at the composition of the members of this supply chain committee. Okay? Let me give you a minute or two to just go through. We have HealthStrat, tunateremka mpaka PS Kenya, IBM Research. Okay? Teremka mpaka tumefika Good Life. Show me where KISM is. Show me. Because people are always talking about advocate. Advocate to who? County government. Are we being serious? Are we serious? So that what? We continue managing tenders. How about the health sector? Like, iko shida. If you want to advocate, mnataka kuongea na watu kadhaa, these are the people you should be talking to. Wanasema private sector, bring them in. My friend, tuanzie tu hapo juu. And if you think I'm making things up, just Google HPT, strategic plan. The health sector, Kenya. Uone what people actually have allocated as what supply chain people should be doing. And then we have people who seem to still believe, hey, they understand what we need. Someone asked me, and are they full-time, like the council members? I was like, you know, some things we cannot talk about. But then just think about it. You have kazi ya 8 to 5, and then uko pia. So watu watakuwa na access to you namna gani? Watu watashughulikiwa namna gani? 6,000 members, and then when you look at supply chain, let me assume that you are actually a supply chain director. Okay? Someone big, someone who has over 5,000 suppliers, stakeholders. You have a team that you oversee. And then we are here, supply chain practitioners, waiting for you to go and handle our issues. How? No, something else that came out that people are actually avoiding is the fact that kulikuwa na fallout. For me, I don't know, because if you have a certain need as a person, then this is now where we mind our own business. This is where we mind our own business, because the moments that we cannot see eye to eye, but things have to be done. But then, if that information is very critical to the people we are serving, then kuko na manjia zenye hii information inafaa kutoka. It is all about value. Those people who are actually vying for this position, value iko wapi? You campaign, fine. Unaweza pata kickback, well and good, all the best. But then, for the rest of the 6,000 who do not have networks, what happens? What happens? Sio kila mtu ako na network. Sio kila mtu. So if for example, the guy who was actually threatened, I can go, we know where you work. My friend, I was like, nilitoka hiyo group for almost 2 hours because I was like, hey, someone can actually, destroy your career. Yet we should be able to work together. So how are we going to have one voice and start telling people the truth about IFMIS? Why didn't IFMIS work? Yeah? As procurement professionals, we know why. Because if you consider the functionality of IFMIS, okay? Let's look at the access control. What walikuwa na permissions gani? People have written about all this. My research. But then, tutaanza kuambia watu ukweli namna gani? Because, we will get another system, the same problem. This year, utasikia, scam ndo hiyo. Procurement professional, no, sent home. Salaries, zile. And then, we will start saying that the people who are elected are not actually delivering. So, with everything, for me, I'm actually even praying that whoever wins is going to be actually a person who will seek out this other person and be like, we need to work together. That is what I am praying for. That's why I feel like mix matching. Because Kukona very strong ideas on this side, and then some other council members, aspiring council members who have very good ideas. And if they don't get in, swalini, what happens? Because our wengine waki-implement itakuwa wameiba our idea. No. It should be a win-win for everyone at the end of the day, because we all have to win. Kidogo, just take your time and look at Canada's system called Max. Hiyo tu ndio homework ninaweza sema. And if you've actually not registered for the election, by the way, there is information that I'm going to put up. I think it was shared yesterday. Receive that token. Let's vote. It's time that you actually, unajua kuna watu who actually don't care. I've said this. I have friends who have said they really don't care. But for me, I care. You should care too. You should care. Even if, Rome was not built in one day. Rome was not built in one day. And we cannot continue being abnuasis, just getting the certification, and then tunangangana na CIPS. No. We can actually build KISM, but then together.
The fact of the matter is, most people are full of shit. Most people would sell you out to protect themselves without even thinking twice about it. They wouldn't even bat an eye. Most people don't even have any values or any beliefs, and they worship at the altar of convenience or the almighty dollar. And that is why, when you do find that rare individual that does have values, that does have a spine, that's willing to stand up for their beliefs, that's willing to sacrifice for their people, even at the detriment of themselves, you invest in those people. You invest in those relationships, you sacrifice for those people, you stay loyal to those people, because those people are so incredibly rare and so hard to find. So when you do find one, you hang on to them. And the only way to get in circles with people like this is to level up yourself. If you want to attract better people, you have to become better.